I really crashed and burned for a little while. I took for granted how much my classroom and my peers are why I was successful out of the gate. You know, going from living by the bells, getting at school by 7 in the morning, eating by a bell, you get this crazy structure. And having peers at your fingertips and having a place to go and having to get ready. You know, all those things that you don't think matter really matter.
I think a lot of us struggle with that when we go out on our own. Yes. I remember just kind of the first the couple weeks I was not in an office.
Right.
Like, we've always worked out of the home, and I'd be like, cool, I can go to yoga and get groceries, and I can do stuff.
It's the paradox of choice. You have too many opportunities.
And then it's 2 p.m. and I haven't worked yet, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Whoops.
Yeah, right? So we have to create our own structure.
I think it's that,
and
for
our own
me,
peer group.
Yeah, it was that, but also for me, it was just being paralyzed with fear. I was doing something I'd never done before, really taking a leap of faith, and I was terrified. And so I did a lot of numbing by watching Netflix.
I'm Jamie O'Kane, CPA, Small Business Advanced Tax Planning and Compliance Extraordinaire, and this is the Abundant Beans Podcast, the podcast that takes my love for learning what makes people tick while digging into the good, bad, and ugly of small business ownership. We strive to give you the insight that only those in the trenches of being and working with entrepreneurs can provide.
So then I've done it so many wrong ways, right? So I've built it up because I had seats and I got to put butts in them because it looks good. And then they don't, and I'm like, wait a minute. So what actually finally worked is I focused on the fact that we have a very unique culture in the branch and at the company, and that you can train people how to sell stuff. You can't change people's personality, and you can't change their own culture they're coming in with. And so when I focused more on, all right, are we going to be a good fit? Do I want to come to the office and see you every day?
Yeah, do I like you?
Yeah. As the basis. Then it's like, all right, now it's easier for me. And it's probably all selfish. I'm very selfish.
No, it's not.
It's more like, I'm that much more invested into your success if I like you.
Right.
Yeah. So that doesn't really answer your question, but there's so many people that are out there moving around. It's a very transient business. And so I realized if I'm recruiting somebody and they're like, yeah, it sounds great, let me come on board. If it's too easy, you're probably not the right fit. Make me try.
That's interesting.
Which surprises me because my wife said yes right away when I asked her. So maybe no, she's high rage.
Sustainability. That's a word that has a lot of different meanings in society today. How do you envision what that means and how that applies in your clients' businesses?
So a lot of the time when we're dealing with sustainability, I'm helping clients understand how to get more time back.
Okay.
Usually that's the big one, right? Most entrepreneurs are working at 120
burnout
hours.
prevention.
Yeah, it's burnout prevention really for a lot of our clients for sustainability. Or scaling. Sometimes we're helping with scaling. But a lot of the time I'm dealing with, our business owners need help with their value, understanding how much to charge, what they can charge, helping with that push to charge more.
Sure.
Understanding, kind of what value they provide. And helping them find some time back. Stop running around with like chickens with their heads cut off. Whether that looks like just online scheduling, just a solution for that. Or, helping them with paid consults. We were just talking about paid consults before we started rolling. Helping them implement a paid consult to help weed people out and to, help kind of create a better conversion rate.
Sure.
So it looks different for every business owner. But a lot of the time, it looks like helping them figure out how to get into a better place with their time and their money.
Gotcha.
I learned real quick to just do it during work hours anyway, I don't respond to emails on the weekends. I rarely even check them on the weekends unless I'm waiting for something and I'm working on it.
Right.
I'm not even in my inbox.
And that's good, and everybody's going to have a little bit of a different approach to that, what works for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
For me, I've had a colleague before ask me, Steve, I saw that you sent this email at 8:30 at night. You're not really representing the work-life balance and the synergy that we're talking about. I'm like, actually, I am. I said, because if you cared to look at my calendar, what you would see that while I did start at 6 a.m, you'll see that I went to gym at noon for an hour and a half. You see, I picked up my daughter at 3 o'clock and I made my family for my dinner at 6. So even though I was sending that email at 8:30, if you looked at my calendar, you saw I put in a 10-hour day.
Right.
I wasn't working. 16 hours. Okay. So, how I get my synergy is by some days having that flexibility in the day where I can do things differently. And I chose to process my email later at night, that night, to make it work on my calendar.
Right. But that was on purpose.
Yeah, it was on purpose, and it allowed and afforded me the opportunity that I wanted to have for my well-being, going to the gym, and for spending time with my family and supporting my daughter and her concert and all that stuff, right? So it looks different for different people. The key is that you're getting that balance that you need, and the important things in your personal life are still being addressed as important as the important stuff in your work. How that works for you, if it's turning it on at 8 and turning it off at 4, and then just having a clean break and putting your work phone away, awesome. If that works for you. Sometimes it's splitting things up a little bit.
I love it.
Yep.
I love it.
Position to offer some wisdom, i.e., lessons learned from other people's lives.
Yeah,
about people's learning process on their own.
Think of some of the more pervasive ones. Like every business owner is so different.
Sure. Or an interesting one too, right? Even if it's not necessarily pervasive.
An interesting one. So I can talk about like a price increase. So okay. I had a client who does services, and he took on this business and kept the pricing structure.
Okay.
Because he was very, very afraid to raise prices. He lives in a very high cost of living, or the business is in a very high cost of living area. And the prices were not commensurate with that. And he had people driving 2 or 3 hours to come to him for this service.
Wow.
And they were booked, like fully booked. I think he worked like 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. every day. Wow. Like his hours were out of control.
Yeah.
Especially for this service. It's a hands-on, person-by-person service. So I convinced him to do a significant price raise. Not as much as I wanted him to do, but he did most of it.
Baby steps.
And I said, even if you lost 20%, and I sat down with him and I said, even if you lost 20% of your clients, at this new price, you'd be making more money.
Sure.
In less time, right? And he was just like, okay. So he did it. And he calls me 2 weeks later. He's like, I've been home for dinner every single day this week. I was like, did you lose any clients? And he's like, one person mentioned it. He's like, but they're still coming. Like, wow. And I was like, you didn't raise it high enough.
I know, I was about to say.
I was like, that's
first thought, congratulations. Second thought.
Well, next, do it again. Let's do it again in 6 months or whatever, right?
Yep.
Thank you so much for listening or watching. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, or wherever you prefer to listen. If you learned something and found some useful information to apply to your business today, please consider giving us a thumbs up and a review. Until next week, be abundant.